In this video, we're going to go through how to create a simple form using Microsoft Forms. So to get to Microsoft Forms, we go to www.office.com and sign in with our LearnLink credentials. From there, we click on the 9 dots in the top left corner and go to Forms. Once in Forms, we click on the drop down next to where it says New Quiz and we select New Form. The form that I'll be creating for this example is a simple feedback survey, and I'm going to try and use as many of the different types of form fields as I can. So we'll go ahead and we'll give it a title. Underneath where it says enter a description, we can put a description for our form or simply leave it blank. From there, we can start to add our questions. So we'll click on add new, and we've got some different field types here. We also have the drop down button next to date with some more field types. So we'll go ahead and create text. And I'll point out that we have a long answer that will change this form type from a single line to multiple lines. And I can also select whether I'd like this to be required or not. And next door, I have 3 dots and I can put in a subtitle. This is more information relating to this question. I can add some restrictions and also add branching. But for this one, we'll just leave it as a default. The next question that I'd like to add is a choice question. So I'm going to ask the person to select the type of training that they attended. And I'll go ahead and put in some options here. I can also select to add the other option. By adding this, it will allow the person to select other and then provide text to go with it. So let's preview that to have a look. So when I click onto preview, I can scroll down, and at the moment, the person can select one type of training, and if they select other, they can add some text into the field. So we'll click on back. If I click onto this question again, I've got the ability to change it to multiple answers. This means that the person can select more than one option. So we can see there that they can select everything. If I turn it back into just a single answer, next door where I have my more options button, I can change this to a drop down. So now when I preview it, the person can use the drop down to select the type of training that they attended. Let's go back. I actually want this person to be able to select multiple types of training. So I'm going to turn off the drop down and put back on multiple answers. Our next question is date. I'd like to know what date they attended the training. So we'll go date. And this will add a calendar picker where that person can click onto the little calendar and select the date. And now we'll go ahead and ask if they would like to leave feedback. So we've gone with choice. And this time I want them to select either yes or no. So let's preview what we've got so far. We've got our form title, we've got a description. It's got my name in this line here because I've asked my recipients to sign into the form. I ask for name, I've got my type of training, I've got my date with the calendar picker, and I've got the question of whether they'd like to leave feedback or not. Let's click on back. So let's go down, and now we're going to ask some questions relating to the training. So we'll go add new, and this time I'm going to use the drop down to select the Likert scale. So now I'm going to get my user to select whether they strongly disagree, agree, or strongly agree to the statements I'm going to put in. Don't worry that strongly disagree appears on 2 lines. When you preview the form, it'll go onto 1 line. Now I'm going to ask a rating question. So click on to add new and click on rating. I'm going to ask my user for their overall rating of the training. And we've got 5 levels here. I can change that up to 10 if I wish. And I can change from a star rating to a number rating. But in my example, we'll leave it as star. And then to finish this form, I'm going to add new. And this time I am going to select text and put in other comments. And because I want them to be able to write a long answer, we're going to select long answer. So let's preview that form. So we've got name, type of training, date, would you like to leave feedback, yes or no, training, questions, rating, and other comments. Now at this point, it makes sense that we only show the training related questions if the person selects yes for leaving feedback. So let's go and implement that. So we'll click back. And now where it's got would you like to leave feedback, we'll click on to the question. And next to required, we'll click on the three dots and we're going to go to add branching. What we have now is the ability to select the question that each response will take us to. So if the person selects yes, we'd like them to go to the next question, which is the one underneath. But if they select no, we actually want them to go to the end of the form. Or if we had another question, we could send them to a different question below. But in this instance, I want them to go to the end of form. And then we'll click on back up the top and let's preview that. So our form ends there. Would you like to leave feedback? If I click on no, it goes to submit. And if I click on yes, that will bring in my other questions there. Let's click back. And now I'm going to go to preview again. Note here though that I can actually submit this form regardless of whether question 4 has been answered. So I actually want to force my user to select one of these options. So I'm going to go back, and for question 4, I'm going to make this a required field. So we'll click on required. And now when I preview and I click on submit, it lets me know that this question is required. So that person can't submit without answering this. Now, it might be a good idea to make some of the other questions mandatory as well, but for this example, I'm going to leave every other question as optional. So let's click on back. So what I think this form is missing is pages. At the moment, we just have all of our questions on one page. It might be a good idea to have a details page and then a feedback page. So to do that, I click on to the title and description tile and click on add new. Now with my drop down, I can select section. And I'm going to call this section participant details. And underneath, I can put a description that relates to this page. So that's that section. Now I want to add my feedback section. So underneath where I've got would you like to leave feedback, I'm going to click on to that question and I'm going to go to add new and add another section. And this time we'll call it feedback questions and enter a description. So let's preview that. So we've got our feedback survey, we've got the participant details section. And if I select yes, I now need to click on next. So I click onto next, and this now takes me to my feedback questions page where I have all of the questions relating to the feedback. If I click on back and I change this response to no, the next button changes to submit, and I can submit this form without even seeing the other page. Let's go back. So now that we've got our completed form, I can go into theme and I can select one of the theme ideas that is brought up for me. Or if I scroll down, I can select a color, or I can even upload my own custom theme. In this one, I might go with the art theme. And then next to where we have share, we've got more options. So if I click onto settings now, I can choose who can fill in this form. So at the moment, only people in my organization can respond, and I'm recording their name. I could also choose to select one response per person. But because this could be anonymous, I'm going to change it to anyone can respond. You should also select this option if sharing with people outside of the department, such as parents. And I've got more options below. I can select whether I've got a particular start date and end date. I can show my progress bar, and I can even customize my thank you message. So at the moment, it just says your response was submitted, but I could change it to something else, like your response was submitted, somebody will get back to you soon. So let's preview that now with our new theme. So now we can see that theme background, and my name has also disappeared from the top line there. Let me go ahead and quickly fill in this form. Once you start receiving form responses, in your responses tab, you'll have a little number letting you know how many responses you've received. So if I click onto the responses tab, I get some analytics about my form. And as I scroll down, I can actually see graphs relating to my responses. So I can see I've had one sway and one other. 100% have selected yes, and we've got some other graphs here. I can also choose to open an Excel, which will download an Excel spreadsheet of all of my responses. And if I click onto View Results, I can actually select each response from the drop-down. So to share this with someone, we click on to Share, and we note anyone can respond. And this is the link that we provide to our recipients. Or you can click onto Shorten URL, and you will get a friendlier URL that you can send. So you can copy this and you can put this into an email, on your website, into Teams, chat, however you would normally share a website address with somebody else. And while I'm here, if you'd like to give someone access to copy your form for their own use, you can share as template. That means that they'll be able to duplicate your form in their own environment. And if you'd like somebody to help you with your form or to see your form responses, you can get a link to view and edit. So if I click onto that, I can now copy this link and send it to my colleague. That means my colleague will be able to edit my form as well as view the responses. Please be careful when sharing this link though, because anybody in the organization will be able to view and edit if they have access to this link.